Football is here. Week 3 is here. And most importantly, 7-Seven-TalkSports is here. Y'all know what it is, man. Y'all come holler at me. Let's go. Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to week 3 of the college football season. I'm sorry, week 4. Let me say that the right way. Week 4 of the college football season, man, and week 3 of the NFL season. So we want to go ahead and jump right on into this thing, man. First off, let me start off by saying thank you all again for subscribing, for listening, for the support. I really appreciate it, man. 7-Seven-TalkSports, we growing. And I just thank you for being on this ride with me. So we want to go on and jump onto this thing, man. The first game that I definitely want to talk about on the college scene, we're going to start with the college scene first. So let's go on and get that on out the way. The two marquee games that I am looking forward to this Saturday is the first game I'm looking forward to is the matchup of Tennessee, number 6 Tennessee, going to Norman, Oklahoma to take on the 15th ranked Oklahoma Sooners. So this game is going to be really interesting. And the reason why I say that is because you have the head coach, Josh Heupel. That's the head coach of Tennessee. He was once the head coach of Oklahoma. And things really didn't work out that well. So Josh Heupel is coming back. But this time he's bringing back a quarterback that I really think that people really need to be paying attention to. You know, this is going to be his first year. This is his first year as a starter. And the young man by the name of Nico Iyamalea. The young man can throw the football. We'll put it on out there right now. He's completing 72% of his passes. He's thrown for 6 touchdowns versus against 2 picks so far. So, you know, this is going to be a big test for Tennessee. You know, you're on the road, you're playing your first conference game on the road, and this is going to also be Oklahoma's first SEC conference game as well, since they, you know, joined with Texas and they moved over from the Big 12 to the SEC. But I'm going to be honest with you, man. I like this matchup of Josh Heupel's offense going against Brent Venables' defense. Now, Oklahoma's defense, man, they've been stingy. And if you know anything about Brent Venables as a head coach or just being able to call the defense, you know, he was the defensive coordinator in Clemson for a large number of years before he ended up, moving on from Clemson to Oklahoma. So Oklahoma's defense coming into this game right now, they're only giving up 11.5 points a game. And so it's going to be, you know, the classic offense versus defense matchup. But I'm going to be honest with you. I like Tennessee to win this matchup. I wouldn't be surprised if it is a high-scoring game, but I don't expect it to be a high-scoring game because right now Oklahoma's offenses, they've been up and down a little bit. You know, they showed signs of life last week when they played. I believe it was I can't think of the team that they played last week, so please forgive me. But they showed signs last week, so their offense is starting to pick up, you know, a little bit and everything. But I just think that Nico and Josh Heupel calling the plays, I just think that Tennessee is going to be a little bit too much for Oklahoma. But I expect that to be a really good game, you know, and it'll be a good way, you know, for Nico to really see what SEC football is all about, especially on the road and being a first-time starter. The second game that I got my mind, that I really, you know, got my eyes on, not my mind, y'all forgive me, I got my eyes on, is the matchup today of number 11 USC going into the Big House to take on Michigan. Now, Michigan, you know, we talked about this a couple of weeks ago when Michigan played Texas, and it ended up, I thought the game was going to be closer. I did feel that Texas was just going to be too much for Michigan, but I did not expect a blowout. And I'm going to be honest with you today. I think it's going to kind of be somewhat of the same, because the problem with Michigan right now is that it all starts at the quarterback position. So, they're going to have they're going to have a new quarterback plan today. I believe his last name is Origi, if I'm not mistaken, but he is more of a running quarterback opposed to being a dual threat in throwing and running the football. So I think that USC is going to be well equipped for that. And I also just look at the fact that speaking of quarterbacks on the USC side, you have the young man Miller Moss, who is completing, he's a very efficient passer. Miller Moss is completing close to about 65% of his passes so far. Now, he really hasn't killed you with the numbers as far as touchdown passes and whatnot go, but he's been very efficient. And when you look at the way how he played against LSU opening weekend out there in Las Vegas, the man, he stayed very composed. LSU sent a lot of different exotic blitzes and blitz packages and everything his way. And he stayed in there and he did what he needed to do. So I like USC to win today. I don't think I think it's really it might be I like USC to win by double digits. I'm just going to be honest with you. Because again, the problem with Michigan is the fact that offensively, they're having an issue throwing the football. Yeah, you can turn around and hand the football off to Donovan Edwards, which you should be doing anyway. Donovan Edwards should get about, I would say, anywhere between 20 to 25 touches today, both running the football, catching the football out the backfield. Sharon Moore has got to do a better job in getting more. He's got to get a little bit more creative in his, in his packages and whatnot. But I also understand it. It's hard to get creative when the guy that touches the football more than anybody else on the field, being the quarterback, you just don't have that quarterback that's going to be able to take you over the top right now. So again, I like USC to win this ball game. I'm going to say USC probably by 10 or more today. I just think that, after a while, Michigan's defense is going to be on the field just way too long. And I just think that they're just going to get, run down and just tired towards the end. And I think USC will be able to get out of Ann Arbor with the win. Another game I want to talk about, I definitely, I got to show y'all that I am a bit of a homer. I'm sorry. I told y'all about Auburn. I'm a big time Auburn fan. Auburn opens up their SEC schedule today. They have Arkansas coming to the Plains. Now that game is, I really don't know which direction this game is going to go. Of course, I'm pulling for Auburn to do what they need to do. They made the switch at quarterback. They went from Peyton Thorne, thank God, finally, and they brought in Hank Brown. Hank Brown played well last week. We'll say that, when they played against the Lobos of New Mexico and everything. So, but again, that was New Mexico, right? So let's not think that Hank Brown is coming in here and and going to win a national championship, his first year. That would be the dream scenario for him to win a national championship. But now Hank Brown is going to get a chance to go up against, Arkansas. And, so when you look at it, Sam Pittman, who was on Georgia's staff, he had a lot to do with the offensive line and also defensive line at Georgia at times and everything. So, that you never know which way, a conference game is going to go. And honestly, when I look at Auburn and when I look at Arkansas, I see two teams that are really similar right now, to be totally honest with you. So, but one thing that does concern me about Auburn right now, I don't understand what we're doing defensively. I don't get it. Like Auburn has not really been able to they've been losing the turnover battle already this early in the season. And that's always a sign of disaster when when your defense cannot create the turnovers and whatnot and get off the football field, or they're losing in the turnover battle. Now, I will say this. Peyton Thorne has a lot to do with the reason why Auburn is losing the turnover battle, because, he threw 5 picks in the game against Cal. So that didn't help. But I think Auburn is going to be a little bit too much today. Really need for Jaquez Hunter to really get it going. Jarquez has got to get it going. He is a all SEC first team pick, right? The man, he's he's a senior. He's been there. He knows exactly what needs to happen. And I really need for Jarquez Hunter to get it going. Let's get this running game going. Let's get some stops early. Let's get Hank Brown rolling them out the pocket a little bit. And let's get this football down. Let's push the football down the field. So I'm going to scream War Eagle today. You know what I'm saying? We definitely not going to go with no Woo Pig Suey for all the Arkansas fans that are listening to me. But I do like Auburn to win today at home. And, this will be a very big win, for Auburn today, because you always want to start the year off. You want to start the year off great, especially when you're jumping into conference play, because, we got a big one coming into town next week. Oklahoma comes to the Plains next week. So I don't want Auburn to look ahead. Let's focus on the task that's right in front of us, and let's go War Damn Eagle, and let's go ahead and win this ball game today. So enough about college football. I want to now take some time we want to switch over to the NFL real quick. And, I was looking at the schedule and everything this week, and it's 4 games that jumped out at me that I really want to, that I got my eye on and everything for this week's games in the NFL. And the first game I want to talk about is Philadelphia versus New Orleans. Now, New Orleans, you know what I'm saying, they went into Dallas last week and they mollywopped the Dallas Cowboys. My Dallas Cowboys got mollywopped. And Dallas, like New Orleans just, they did whatever they wanted to. They did whatever they wanted to. Alvin Kamara, for all the y'all that has him as your fantasy running back, I know y'all were sitting pretty last week after that performance in Dallas, because Alvin Kamara, he scored 4 touchdowns last week. So so this game with Philly, it's going to really be an interesting matchup, because again, Derek Carr is playing unbelievable for New Orleans and everything to start the season off. New Orleans defense is playing very well, and just offensively, they are really doing whatever it is that they want to do. If I'm not mistaken, I think that New Orleans is coming in right now. They're averaging, I think like close to about 45, maybe 50 points a game right now after the first couple of weeks. So, and then now you have a Philadelphia team that's coming into town after a very disappointing Monday night effort against the Falcons. A lot of people are going to still say, well, hell, if Saquon Barkley catches that swing pass on third down against the Falcons on Monday night, then, the Eagles are coming, the Eagles are coming into this game 2-0. That's a good argument. I will say that. That is a good argument. But we also got to talk about Philadelphia's defense. Now, you brought in Vic Fangio to be the defensive coordinator, right? But I'm trying to understand what's going on with Philadelphia's defense. You have the 2 big boys in the middle, right, from Georgia, playing at D tackle. And I don't know if they're in shape or not, because you can't have your 2 big boys coming in 3 plays, and then all of a sudden they yell into the sideline they need somebody to come in and give them a break. And the Philadelphia secondary, yes, they have drafted well. I like their first round pick. The young man from, I think he played it. Don't get me wrong. I'll have his name right next week when we talk about this. We talk about Philly going forward. But I like the young man that I think his name is Quentin Michael, like, if I'm not mistaken. The young man that they drafted with their first round pick. But still, Philadelphia's defense is not doing what you would think that they should be doing. And Philadelphia got some dogs on that defensive side. So I'm trying to understand, is it too early in the season because you're still learning what's expected of you and they'll get into their groove as they go on? Or is this something that Philadelphia is going to be dealing with all year? So, hey, my Philly fans, man, y'all holler at me and let me know what y'all think. That was a very disappointing loss last week against an Atlanta team that you really should have blew out. I'm just going to be honest with you. But, you lost that game at home, and now, you're facing the reality of going 1-2 to start the season off. And you really don't want to start the season off that way. So my pick for this one, I like New Orleans. I think New Orleans is going to make just enough plays to do what they need to do. But I think this game is going to be really close. But I still like New Orleans to get out of here with the victory and keep it moving and go to 3-0. The next game I want to talk about, speaking of the possibility of going 1-2, we're going to jump right on into this next one, man. And the next one I want to talk about is the Baltimore Ravens coming to Jerry's World to face off against Dak Prescott and the Dallas Cowboys. So y'all look, here's my problem with this game on both sides, right? Let's go ahead and let's start with the Baltimore Ravens. So you have, y'all heard me talk about this before. I asked the question. I said, is Lamar Jackson even the best quarterback in his own division, right? So now you have an 0-2 Ravens football team coming into Dallas. Yeah, I get it. Baltimore lost their first game to Kansas City by a toe, we might as well say, right? Very close game. Very good game at that, too. It was a very good game. But Baltimore couldn't get it done. Then last week, Baltimore squandered a 10-point lead at home against the Las Vegas Raiders. And now you're coming into Dallas, looking at the distinct possibility of starting the season 0-3. And so I lay a lot of this at the feet of the head coach, which is John Harbaugh, right? Yeah, I get it. John Harbaugh has won a Super Bowl with Baltimore, right? I understand all that. The last time Baltimore won a Super Bowl, Ray Lewis was still there, Ed Reed was still there, and Joe Flacco was the starting quarterback because Joe Flacco ended up being the Super Bowl MVP. But you have to start asking yourself, is John Harbaugh's message in the locker room getting stale? And I know a lot of y'all are going to say, how can you say that? They just made it to they were just in the AFC Championship game last year, but they didn't win it. They did not win it. Yeah, they were the number one seed. They had the number one defense. Lamar was by far unanimously the MVP of the league last year, and that got you nothing. Then you go into the offseason, and what do? You go sign Derrick Henry. I'm trying to understand, why are you signing Derrick Henry if you're not going to use him in the running game? It doesn't make any sense. And then the other thing, offensively, right? I got to lay this at the feet of Todd Monken, who is the offensive coordinator for the Baltimore Ravens. Coming into this game, Baltimore is averaging 21.5 points per game. But on the defensive side, Baltimore is giving up 27 points a game. So you're already in the hole. So you're negative that way. I don't understand what Baltimore is doing defensively. And if anybody knows anything about Baltimore Ravens football, it's always defense first. That's how they were built. It is defense first. It's not happening so far. So I really don't know exactly what's going on when it comes down to the Baltimore Ravens, right? But the remedy for any team right now will be the Dallas Cowboys run defense. And so now let's switch it over to that, because I have a feeling that Baltimore is going to come in Dallas and they are going to run the football right down the Cowboys' throat. And it's nothing that Dallas can do about it. Because number one, Dallas is too light in the ass to be trying to defend the run. That's what it is. Dallas defense is built, right, because they want to get speed guys out there. They want to let Michael Parsons do his thing on one side. You want to let DeMarcus Lawrence do his thing on the other side. They want to get to the quarterback and they want to put him down. But what do you do if you don't have the lead? And now you have a football team that's coming right at you and they are running the football right down your throat. How are you going to stop it? So you bring in Mike Zimmer. Mike Zimmer has many years of calling great defenses, right? But right now, it's just not working. And so I'm going to go this week. My pick is going to be, because we're going to keep it 100 on this show as we always do. My pick is going to be Baltimore. I think Baltimore is going to come into Dallas, and you're going to see sad faces again in Cowboy Stadium, as you normally do when Dallas is getting ran through, right? But I really think that Baltimore is going to come in here. They're going to keep it simple. They're going to run the football. They are going to dare Dallas to run the football, and then they're going to turn Lamar loose. Because again, when Lamar drops back to pass, if you don't get to him early, then what is Lamar going to do? He's going to pull that football down and he's going to take off. And 9 times out of 10, Lamar Jackson is the fastest player on the field whenever the Ravens step on the field, right? So I like Baltimore to go into Dallas, and I look at Dallas going to 1-2. And then now you're going to really start getting the questions that's going along with Dallas. Because again, Dak got the bag, CD got the bag, but you have a lame duck head coach, right? Who's on his last year of his deal, Mike McCarthy. And so, Mike McCarthy's not going to get an extension unless if the Dallas Cowboys win the Super Bowl. And right now, they do not look like a Super Bowl contender. I'm sorry, they really don't. So the third game that I'm looking forward to checking out as well is the Houston versus Minnesota game. Now this is a little bit of a shocker, especially on the Minnesota side, because I didn't expect Minnesota to come out the gate and start the season 2-0. They had some injuries to the quarterback, JJ McCarthy. He tore his meniscus in the preseason, so he's out for the rest of the year. And they brought in Sam Darnold. And I was like, okay, well, Sam Darnold will just be a stopgap, which he will be. But you got to give Minnesota some love, especially that big win after that big win against San Francisco last week at home. And so, and Minnesota's defense has been playing well, coached up by Brian Flores. So I like this matchup against Houston. And of course, man, I got mad love for Houston. I am a big CJ Stroud fan. I'm also a big D'Amico Ryans fan, even though he went to Alabama, but I'm still a big D'Amico Ryans fan because we all know that D'Amico was calling that defense in Houston. And I'm going to be honest with you. I wouldn't be surprised if a touchdown is not scored in this game. I wouldn't be surprised if this is just going to be a defensive slugfest and this is an all field goal type game. Now, I expect some touchdowns to be scored, but I wouldn't be surprised if there aren't any touchdowns scored in this game. But I think at the end of the day, I think CJ Stroud is going to do enough to, he's going to lead this football team down the field. He's going to do what he needs to do. He's going to make the plays. And I think that Houston is just going to be a little bit too much for Minnesota. So I like Houston to go inside their Rockets event, that very loud environment in Minnesota. And I just like for Houston to get out of there with the win. But I believe that defense is going to be a premium when you look at this ball game right here. And the last game, and again, another surprise of 2-0 ball clubs matching up on Sunday. I'm looking at the LA Chargers against Pittsburgh, right? And so, you got the Chargers coming in with their new head coach, Jim Harbaugh. They're still figuring some things out and whatnot, but they're coming into this game 2-0. Harbaugh is doing a very good job of taking the ball out of Justin Herbert's hands because, I hear a lot of people talk about how high they are as Justin Herbert as the quarterback. But if anybody's really taking a good look at Justin Herbert, after 64 starts, Justin Herbert is a 500 quarterback. He's 32-32 with 64 starts as the LA Chargers quarterback. So I'm trying to understand for a guy that was drafted as high as he was drafted, and he had a lot of fanfare coming into this draft. I'm trying to understand, when is Justin Herbert really going to take that next step? Because they still haven't seen it yet. And the Chargers have had a lot of, it's been a lot of excuses when it comes down to the Chargers, right? They put it on the head coach Staley, who was there last year, who just couldn't seem to get it done. But I also kind of think that you got to start putting some of that pressure on Justin Herbert because you're looking at the other young guns around here And you're like, Justin Herbert, you're a 500 quarterback, when it comes down to your winning percentage. So that means you're average, right? So we'll see about that. But, and then when you go over to Pittsburgh, I really think it's time for a lot of people to give, Coach Mike Tomlin his flowers now, right? So when you look at Mike Tomlin, it's one thing that Mike Tomlin can say that a lot of the head coaches that are in the NFL right now can't say. And that thing is Mike Tomlin has never had a losing season as a head coach with the Pittsburgh Steelers. I don't think people understand how hard that is. This man has never had a losing season as the head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers. Yes, he has won a Super Bowl as the head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers, right? And now he had, the big talk in the offseason was all about Russell Wilson. You got Russell Wilson basically for pennies, because Russell Wilson actually should be playing for free this year, looking at the amount of money that Denver told him, hey, just go on and pack up and we'll let you know, you could walk on out the door with your $39 million, right? But Russell Wilson is dealing with a hamstring injury. And when you look at, the young quarterback of Justin Fields, who the Chicago Bears never really tried to put, playmakers around him, except when they went out and got DJ Moore his last year there. You got Justin Fields, who's coming in and he's doing what he needs to do. Yeah, it may not be as beautiful. It may not be as pretty as some people want it to be, but Justin Fields is winning ball games. So, and that Pittsburgh Steelers defense is doing what they need to do as well. So right now, Pittsburgh, if I'm not mistaken, has only given up, I think they've only given up 16 points after 2 games. I believe, because they beat Atlanta 18-10 or 18-12, something like that to start off the week 1. And then they beat Denver last week, 13-6. So Pittsburgh, their defense is playing outstanding. So in this game here, I'm going to go with Pittsburgh at home. I think their defense is just going to be a little bit too much for Justin Herbert and the Chargers. So I like Pittsburgh to win that one. So another hot topic that I want to talk about real quick, man. I want to, first off, I want to send some, prayers and, get well, wishes out there to Tua Tagovailoa, the quarterback from the Miami Dolphins. As we all know, we saw that Tua is dealing with that concussion, and nobody really knows what number of concussion that is for Tua, right? But I'm just going to say this about this whole thing about Tua, man. I think, honestly, that Tua really needs to consider retiring from the game of football. Listen, I understand that it's easy for me to sit here and tell someone who's worked so hard to achieve the dream of getting to the National Football League. I get it. But Tua also has to think about what is he going to do? What is life going to be like after the game is played? You don't want to be walking around not being able to form a speech or, any other type of, head injuries and everything that come with that, because that's going to affect your daily living, and I don't know if Tua has any children or if he plans on having kids, but still, if he plans on having children, he wants to be able to be there for his children and just be a normal person. And because the game of football, it's a violent game. It's really a violent game. And, I just really think that Tua really needs to consider, retiring, because the one thing that nobody want to see, you don't want to see this man come back after taking the time off that he needs. And then he gets hit again. And then it ends up being something even more dangerous, because that's not what anybody wants. So, shout out to Tua, man. I wish you the best, brother, and just, do what you need to do, man. But I really think that you really need to think about retiring, man, because the game of football is going to be around. And, but your life, your well-being, your way of life is what's more important, at the end of the day. And, and then just to talk a little bit about another sport that, because, hey, it is 7-Seven-TalkSports. The WNBA playoffs are here. And, it's going to be interesting. You got a lot of different storylines. Of course, I know a lot of people want to talk about a one particular player, but I'm not going to start with her first because out of respect for the best player in the WNBA right now, we have to start with Aja Wilson. Miss Aja Wilson is the best player in the WNBA, hands down. You can at me, you can say whatever it is that you want to say. And Aja Wilson should be unanimously the WNBA most valuable player this year. Now, you got the Las Vegas Aces, Aja Wilson's team. You got the Las Vegas Aces who were trying to win their third straight WNBA championship. And they're gonna start the first round of the playoffs against the Seattle Storm, against Jewel Lloyd, and so that's going to be a very interesting matchup. And then of course you have Caitlin Clark. Caitlin Clark has been she's been the subject of it's been a lot of banter back and forth when it comes down to Caitlin Clark, between her and when people talk about her and when people talk about Angel Reese, this and that. And yeah, Caitlin Clark, she's a baller. Yeah, she can ball. She can do her thing. She's really been playing great along with Aaliyah Boston. They've been playing great for the Indiana Fever. And, the season didn't start off too well, but I think, that Olympic break was something that Caitlin Clark needed. She was able to really get that rest and kind of get her body, right for the WNBA grind. So they finished off very well to finish off the year, and they're coming into the playoffs and whatnot. So, but we got some other teams out there. Of course, you got you cannot not talk about the WNBA playoffs and not show love to the number 1 overall seed in the New York Liberty, with Sabrina Ionescu and oh my God, forgive me, I can't think of the young lady's name, but she played at UConn. So the New York Liberty right now, they're the number 1 seed. So I'm going to keep my eyes on that, and we'll definitely be talking about this more and more, as the season and everything go along, man. And one last thing I want to do before I get out of here, man, Bryce Young. I want to talk a little bit about Bryce Young real quick, right? Going back to the game of football. So Bryce Young was benched after a terrible performance against the LA Chargers and everything on last Sunday. And but Bryce Young, I'm gonna tell you like this, man. It's hopefully you'll get a chance to see this, and would definitely like to have you on whenever you would like to come on. Just reach out. But I'm gonna say this: keep your confidence, keep it going, because the Carolina Panthers have failed Bryce Young in every way possible. David Tepper, you have to start asking yourself, do you even know anything about the game of football? Or are you just owning this football team just to make some money? Those are the questions that really need to be asked right now. Because, when you look at what's going on with the Carolina Panthers, you gave away so many, picks and whatnot. You traded away DJ Moore. You give that all the way to Chicago. So you come into this year and, you bring in a new head coach, right? So you come into this year and the question is, what are you doing? What direction is this football team going? Because you have your first round pick of the upcoming draft, right? For next year's draft. But Chicago owns your second round pick. And so now, you drafted Bryce Young, and a lot of people want to say, oh, Bryce Young is too small. He's too small. Well, hell, was he too small before he got drafted? Because that's the question that I'm trying to understand. Because look at Kyler Murray out in Arizona. Is Kyler Murray too small? Because I'm pretty sure that Bryce Young is taller than Kyler Murray. So Bryce Young, man, keep your head up, man. Just continue to work, do what you need to do. I personally think that Bryce Young needs to get out of Carolina, because if you look at the other 2 quarterbacks that was there before him, their time in Carolina was some trash. And now they went on to other teams and they are playing out of their mind. One being the aforementioned Sam Darnold, who is now in Minnesota as a starting quarterback, and the other being Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield is playing phenomenal football down there in Tampa. So maybe it's time for Bryce Young to just get sent to another, a different team, continue to work and do what he needs to do. But I'm telling you, man, NFL owners, y'all are funny. Because the funny thing about NFL owners is this, right? You're quick to chastise and discipline and want to say what the players can't do. But I never hear any of the NFL owners come out and bash another NFL owner. Because you know why? At the end of the day, it's all about that money at the end of the day. That's what it's about. It's about that revenue at the end of the day that's being split between all 32. We know what it is. But David Tepper and Carolina fans, I'm sorry that y'all have to deal with this, right? But David Tepper is the problem. He is the problem. So yeah, man, that's my rant and everything for this week. Hey, look, man, thank y'all again. I'm about to get ready to get on up out of here. Thank y'all again for taking the time to listen to me. I appreciate the support. Tell your friends about me. Tell everybody about me, man. We need to get these numbers up, man. And like I said, anytime y'all want to come talk to me, man, about, and be come on to 7Seven-TalkSports. Come holler at me. Let me know what's good. And what's our inspiration for the day? Our inspiration continues to be, you put one foot in front of the other and you keep it moving and God got the rest. 7-7 Talk, War Damn Eagle. We gone. Y'all holler at your boy.